Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your favorite big sis, aka vlog. My name is Hephzibah. Thank you so much for tuning in. You guys, this family is growing and it's so beautiful to watch. Like, I am so grateful to all of you that have subscribed, that have shared this video. If you have not subscribed, I need you to do one thing and one thing only. You see that red button somewhere there on that page? Just hit subscribe, okay? And share, like share the gospel, share the good, like share with people, okay? Like, let's help people here. So thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you so much for sharing this video. If you are new, welcome. I feel, well, my page is all about life as an international student in the United States. I share on this page, I share some of my experiences, as well as you know, just some information that I come across on my journey, just to help people, just to let you all know that you're not alone and there's so much information out there. So if I come across it first, I bring it to you all with good tidings, right? So with a good heart, not good, yeah. So yes, do not forget to like, share, subscribe. So I'm going to go right into the video for today. I realized a few days ago that I mean, all my videos I've been telling you guys how to do this, how to do that. And while that is cool, how will you know what to believe for me if I don't share, how I found that out or how I figured that out, right? So today I am going to be talking about how I schooled in the how I got scholarship to school in the United States. So number one myth that people have about schooling in the States is that you must be extremely wealthy to school in the US, or that you must be very rich and stuff like that. I mean, that's partly true. Of course, there are some wealthy people, some internationals from wealthy backgrounds here, but also, schooling in the US or schooling in Canada, it's expensive. If you really look at it, it will cause a dent in the pocket. So it really is expensive, and not everyone pays out of pocket. So some people have scholarship. It is possible to get scholarship in the US, basically. So in this video I'm going to be sharing how I found the school I graduated from, and how I found scholarship. Okay, so first things first, I mean, initially, like everyone else applying to schools, I was looking at schools in the US and Canada. I mean, I was also looking at some European countries, but then I narrowed it down to 2 countries, US and Canada. So I applied to Canadian schools. The way they work for scholarship is a little bit different from the US. So I'm just going to focus on US because US was the one that I really pulled through. Like, it was the one that I focused on and I really went with. So I applied to schools in US and in Canada, but US was more intense. So I'm just going to explain the US, how I found my school and how I found the scholarship I got, because I didn't pay the full tuition. So when I decided I was going to school in the US as an undergrad, one thing I had to decide was the size of the school. For me, I didn't want a very big school. I wanted relatively small schools because of the class size. And I was just thinking, since I'm an international student, adjusting to the system of education may be a little bit challenging. So I want to have access to my professors. So I decided that I wanted small schools. So after that, the next thing I had to choose was how much my parents could afford for my education. That's a very important conversation you need to have with your family members. If it's your uncle or your aunt that would sponsor you, you need to really talk to them, like, give me figures, how much can you afford? If it's your parents, how much can you people afford? it's very important to have the amount at the back of your mind, and also just look at the exchange rate and bear in mind that exchange rates fluctuate a lot, so it can go up or it can go down. In my case, it more than doubled when I went to school. So always talk about like how much do you have, well, how much do you think you can set out for me every year, just in case I need funding. So I figured that out. I spoke with my family members, and they gave me a figure, and I was like, okay, we can work with this. So the next thing was to find schools. I started out first finding 10 schools, then I narrowed down my list to 5 schools, and I think I applied to 4 and I went to 1. So if you join for the US, if you join Education USA, there's a book that they'll provide for you to choose schools. But if you're applying to schools in Canada, Ireland, Australia, these things are out on social media, on Google, sorry. So you can Google schools, so maybe colleges or universities. And also it's different, colleges are different from universities. So universities that accept international students and offer international students scholarship can be a good place to start. So you can just Google universities that offer international students scholarship, or universities that accept international students. Of course, they'll first show you the top ones before they show you others, but be patient to search through go through all the lists. Then number 2, you can look for, just Google. So choosing your location, you can Google colleges in this state or in this province. When it comes out, you now go to each and every one of them, look at their website, look at their majors, look at their tuition, look at the scholarships and grants, because the scholarships and grants that they would give to you as an international. So in my case, I joined Education USA. I chose the list of schools that I wanted because I wanted small schools. Another thing you can do is, if you want to go to the US, you can Google colleges that changes life. Those are usually small liberal arts colleges, and with liberal arts colleges, yes, the tuition looks high. It is a little bit expensive, but most of them give scholarships to internationals. So when they accept it, because they will probably be in rural areas, so when they accept it, they'll give you funding. So you can look at colleges that changes lives for US schools, and you see those liberal arts schools. This is for undergrads. For graduate students, you can look at universities with low tuition, so low tuition universities. And then when you go there, check for graduate assistantships, check for maybe teaching assistantship, research assistantship. There are ways to find a way to pay for your tuition. So after choosing my schools, I then went to their websites. They update their websites very, very, like, quite often, so that you can trust most of what you see on the website. Not everything, but most of it. So I went to the tuition, looked at the tuition and cost, how much it would cost, and they break it down on their website. So I chose my schools based off of that. And then after that, I looked still on their website. I went to the apply as an international student link, and then down on the website, for me, I found where they talked about the types of scholarships they offer, and most schools do that. Most schools will tell you the types of scholarships they offer. So there are 2 main types of scholarships that schools will give to international students or to people. One is merit-based scholarship or academic-based scholarship, and then the other is need-based scholarship or grant. So the need-based is when you're applying, usually it's one application, which is the application you send to school. When they accept you, you qualify for the need-based grant. So the need-based is based on your needs, based on how much you have or how much your family has and how much your family is looking for. So they would ask you on your application, how much can you guys afford? How much can your family members afford? And they would ask you, how much do you want the school to give you for scholarship? and that is steady for the whole of 4 years. So if you say, for instance, if the school's tuition is 50,000 on the website, and you say your parents can offer 20,000 a year, so they should give you a scholarship of 30,000. That's what they'll give you. They'll give you 30,000 the first year because the school fees is 50. The ways, and then for some schools, the next year when the tuition increases, they then increase the amount of scholarship they'll give you. But basically your parents will still be paying around that 20,000. So it's not like when it increases they will cover the rest and then you pay 20,000. They'll charge you based on a percentage. So for instance, if that 30,000 is 55% of your tuition, then when they increase the tuition for the following year, academic year, they'll provide 55%, and you guys will provide the remaining 45%. So if it moves from 20,000 to 22,000, that's what your family is going to pay. But that's need-based and it's static. Like they will not in most cases they will not change their mind because something else happened to you. Do you get like that? Once you sign that contract, that's what's going to happen for 4 years. That's how much they're going to provide. So you need to know how much your family, that's why you need to know how much your family can afford. I hope that makes sense. So I'll recap. For need-based, when they accept you, they would provide you scholarship. And most of the schools that I looked at on their website, the way they work for need-based is they give you based on percentage. So if they are paying 55% of your tuition, that's the estimate they're going to have for each year that the tuition increases. Which means if you start out at maybe paying 18,000, you may graduate with paying 24,000 because it will increase, and they will only cover their percentage. You would cover the rest. And then the other one is merit-based or academic-based. So that one, clearly you need to have like a good GPA, well-rounded student and all of that. So it's based on your academic performance, it's based on your transcript that you offer. And for some schools it's based on the transcript and your performance, and every year they give you the scholarship based on your performance. So the year that you don't do so well or you don't meet their cutoff, they'll probably not provide the scholarship for you. So for me, I was looking at both academic and merit based, but yeah, so the schools that I had on my list were academic and merit based, but then the school I ended up going to was a need based grant that I got, which was stable for the 4 years. So yeah, that was how I found my scholarship. So I ended up going to a school that offered me need based grant for the 4 years that I was in school. Which was kind of nice because I didn't have to renew my application every year, something like that. So another option are external scholarships. There are some external scholarships. The one big one I know is USAID. They offer, they can give you full scholarships. So you have to Google them and look at them. There are some charity. I don't want to call them charity organizations, but like Bill and Melinda Gates, they have some programs where they can give scholarships. So there are some external bodies like that. There aren't too many out there, but there are some that would offer you scholarship as an international, or as as an international. Basically, you have to check to see, or maybe a woman in STEM, or a woman in science, technology, engineering, math, or something like that. So you have to really check for them to see. But yes, there are few options out there some options out there for external funding, and people can apply to those. You just need to really scout for them. And so that was how I found my school, and I found scholarships and I applied. Yeah, after that you apply. Oh, one other thing is when you apply, some schools can email you back and say things like, oh, you look like a strong candidate, but we don't have this funding. The moment you start negotiating with them, you will lose. So if you say you need 80% funding and they say, okay, we think you're a good student, stand on that 80%, or just go down to maybe 75% or 70%. But the moment you start agreeing to what they say they can afford, then it's going to be a little bit tricky. So yeah, that was how I got scholarship to the US. And it lasted 4 years of my undergrad journey. So yes, it is so very possible to get scholarship, to get grants. Another option, I know I didn't explore that option, but I know I heard about those options where companies back home or your governments back home sponsoring your education. But depends on where you're from. So yes, there are options out there. Just bear in mind, like, you don't have to pay everything to go to school in these developed countries. You can get some sort of funding, and usually small schools can be more liberal with giving you funding than big schools are. So yeah, and another thing, there are some schools that are tuition free. So once they accept you, you don't have to pay any tuition. So you can also Google tuition free colleges or tuition free schools that accept international students, and you never know, you can find one or two schools that will meet your needs. So yes guys, do not, I'm just putting it out there, please don't be discouraged. Don't think that for you to study abroad as an international, you have to pay through your teeth and nose and mouth. How do they put that? You don't have to pay blood and sweat for it. It's not easy. The choices are limited for internationals, but there are definitely things out there. You just need to scout and you need to plan. You need to have a timeline. Usually plan at least 6 months before the cycle that you want to apply for, at least 6 months. So yes, that's all I have for today. I hope this video helps someone, and I hope I was able to share one or two things with you guys today. So thank you so much for tuning in. Do not forget to like, please guys, like, share, subscribe, and yeah, let me know if this was useful. Please give it a thumbs up and share. I can't overemphasize. Let's grow this ministry. Okay, thank you so much for coming, and I will see you in my next video. Until then, peace and love. Bye.